That triple tail that the Autogyro has really does allow for incredible manoeuvrability. Look at this, just perfect. Virtually stopping in the air before it touches down. What a great piece. It's going to taxi along the flight line. So give him a big wave and a round of applause as he comes through. He certainly deserves it. He's one of the stalwarts here at the Midlands Air Festival, Ragley Hall. And I was privileged to see him fly this machine down in New Zealand that wings over Wairarapa. That's Wood Aerodrome, just to the north of the capital in Wellington.
So Pete's just opened the canopy there, and so he'll be able to see everybody as he comes down from the left to the right. So hands in the air, ladies and gentlemen, give Pete a really good welcome back wave. I think he's looking like he's getting ready to wave back there. Oh, the Union flag, and a big hand to you as well.
Pete would like to acknowledge Pooley's Pilot Supplies as one of his sponsors, allowing him to head around to air shows all over the place. We asked him how he actually controls the gyrocopter as he's taxiing along with both hands in the air. And he said it's a trade secret. Big wave for Pete Davis in his wonderful little doofangle.
Looking up there at the Flying Bulls aircraft, the sun glinting off that gorgeous aluminium and silver paint scheme the aircraft have got. It's just absolutely beautiful. We are in for a treat, ladies and gentlemen.
As you said, Mel, these are magnificently maintained. The restoration is incredible.
So both these aircraft have undergone a massive restoration from the ground upwards, including many, many hours of engineering time to bring them to this pristine condition. And as you said earlier, Pete, they're based over in Salzburg.
Salzburg, yes. This incredible architectural design hangar. It's more like a piece of sculpture than a hangar. We have the DC-6 flown today by Raymond Reedman and the B-25 by... Now you've seen your airliners circling around to come in and land at Heathrow or Gatwick, Stansted, perhaps more exotic locations.
They never looked as pretty as what's up in the sky now.
Most definitely not. The DC-6 wearing a scheme commensurate with the period of its operations. These aircraft being brought by the Flying Bulls from Red Bull. The history of the Flying Bulls, basically with their aircraft, began in the 1980s. And during this time, Sigi Angara, he was a Tyrolean Airways pilot, and he flew modern jets, but his true love was actually historic aircraft. He found a North American T-28B, which is a big radial engine trainer, took it back to Innsbruck for restoration, and he then added a Grumman G44 Widgeon, which is an amphibian. And then he bought the legendary Chancellor F4U Corsair. Now this is the famous bed-wing bird. Now, the Corsair bought Angara and Dietrich Maxich, who is the CEO of Red Bull. And from the Corsair, the bed-wing bird, they saw that as a corporate symbol for Red Bull gives you wings. Now coming in from the right we have the DC-6. Both aircraft are being displayed in tandem. DC-6 first flew in February 1946 and was a development of the former DC-4, DC for Douglas Commercial. DC-6 was developed from the DC-4, a similar configuration but considerably larger and more powerful. The B-25, designed by North American Aviation, medium bomber from the Second World War that operated throughout Europe, China, Burma, India, and specifically in the Pacific Theatre. Named the Mitchell after General Billy Mitchell, who really did push the role of aircraft in the US Army, because the US Army controlled the aviation element. The US Navy had their aircraft as well. The US Air Force was not formed until 1947. Prior to that was known as the US Army Air Corps or the US Army Air Force. Powered by four 2,500 horsepower Pratt & Whitney radials, 18 cylinders each in 2 rows. The B-25 powered by the Wright Cyclone, the R2600. Has a very distinctive gull wing appearance, the B-25, when viewed from front on. How the wings come up and then come out from the fuselage. B-25, as we said, involved in every theatre. The DC-6 used as a transport aircraft prior to its use as an airline. B-25 can be fitted with a variety of armaments. You can see the bomb aimer nose here, specifically for low-level operations. They were also converted into a strafing aircraft, and that commenced with a guy called Pappy Gunn. That was Major Paul Pappy Gunn, and he performed field modifications to increase the forward-firing armament, and that was later introduced into production models. Originally, he just painted over the glass nose and put more machine guns in, but later a purpose-built nose carrying 8 forward-firing 50 caliber machine guns, then 2 packs of 2 50 calibers on either side of the fuselage, and 2 in the top turret that could be used to fire forward. This is a larger pressurized version of the DC-4, or the C-54 as it was known to the military. It was later modified for civil airline operation and introduced by American Airlines and United Airlines on the same day as an airliner in November 1947. By the early months of 1949, the DC-6 was being operated worldwide, with services from the USA to Europe, to Buenos Aires, Rio de Janeiro, Sydney, Manila and Honolulu. They developed cargo versions with slight plugs in the fuselage to lengthen it, different door configurations, and 167 of these were produced as the C-118 or the R-6D for the US Air Force and the US Navy during the Korean War. Some of those military versions included VIP transports, including what they call the VC-118, the VIP C-118, and that was named the Independence and it was bought as a transport for Harry S. Truman. Fitted with 25 seats and 12 beds, and there was another used by President John F. Kennedy, and it was named Air Force One, and was only replaced by a Boeing 707. It has a range of up to 4,100 nautical miles, or over 7,600 kilometres. Can carry between 42 and 89 passengers. It has a cruise speed of about 350 miles an hour, or just over 500 kilometres per hour. This particular aircraft was delivered to the Yugoslavian airline JAT, and it was later converted to a luxury VIP transport for the Yugoslavian Head of State Marshal Joseph Tito. Beautiful lines of that machine up there. 1975, it was sold to Zambia's Head of State Kenneth Kaunda, and it operated across Africa until it was abandoned at Lusaka Airport. It was sold to Chris Shutt, and he operated an airline business from Windhoek in Namibia. He also purchased its sister aircraft, and both of them had consecutive construction numbers as the last two DC-6s that were manufactured. In March 2000, it was purchased by Siggy Angra, and he was then the former chief pilot for Flying Bulls. Flown to Salzburg and restored over 3 years. Now look at that, ladies and gentlemen. This is not how you see an airliner being flown, but this is being beautifully flown and controlled today, and it is a capable hands of great airline. It is truly the jewel in the crown of the Flying Bulls collection. So get your cameras ready, ladies and gentlemen. Give them a big wave as they go through. This will be the last pass for this absolutely glorious DC-6 from Flying Bulls. And Flying Bulls have certainly given this aircraft wings. Is a very rare machine. And now coming in from our right, China, that is a very large rocket. US Marines and US Navy, they didn't call it the B-25, they called it the PBJ. Quite a noisy aeroplane, particularly inside. Tell who was the pilot, who was the co-pilot on the B-25 from the year in which they were deaf. Now this is a J model. This is probably the one that was most prolific, better known. It's heavily armed through the modifications that were undertaken in the field by Major Paul Pappy Gunn, and then those modifications later introduced to factory runs. One of the most incredible modifications that was undertaken was to fit a 75mm cannon. It was actually an army cannon. They shortened the nose of the aircraft, put this cannon in, and it had to be manually loaded by one of the crew. When that cannon was fired, it slowed the aircraft down by 10 miles per hour. This was built in 1945 as a B-25J, and it later received 4 different sets of modifications that took it through different models. December 57 was withdrawn from use, put into open storage at Davis-Monthan Air Base in Arizona, and then later sold to Ames Aerial Service of Stafford, Arizona. It was fitted with a tank and spray bars under the wings, went through a number of different owners, and finally sold in 1997 to Red Bull Aviation in Las Vegas, Nevada. Very large size, was still considered to be a medium bomber. Has a wingspan of just under 70 feet and a length of almost 53 feet. Now, this is a medium bomber with those dimensions. Can you imagine what it was like to put 18 Mitchells on the deck of the USS Warner? And that was used to bomb targets in mainland Japan from an idea brought up by Jimmy Doolittle. He led those 18 aircraft. The whole idea was to cause panic in Japan and to raise morale in the United States. It did very little damage, and they lost quite a few of the crew. All of the aircraft were lost, not to being shot down. But the whole idea was to launch. They couldn't go back to the carrier, overfly Japan, do whatever bombing they had to do, and then head to China, where hopefully they would all be recovered. And only recently has the last of the Doolittle Raiders passed away. One of their things was they had a bottle of alcohol and they had glasses for everybody. And as somebody passed away, they turned the glass around. In memory of that Doolittle raid, the latest American bomber, the B-21, is going to be called the Raider. You can see just behind the wings on the side of the fuselage there, you have what are waist gun positions. Now you've seen in the movies where you've got the B-17s and you've got gunners in the side. This was the same in the B-25. The gunners' positions were actually offset so that they didn't interfere with each other while they were trying to shoot at any aircraft that were attacking. Absolutely beautiful restoration, magnificently made.